Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce to you former WBC heavyweight champion of the world, the Atomic Bull, Oliver McCall.
He's going to have to go back to his boxing and, trying to keep Oliver off of him.
Oh, he went down again with that big clubbing right hand.
And this fight is over. Score the second round stoppage.
At 2 minutes, 45 seconds of the second round by TKO, Oliver, the Atomic Bull, McCall.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
It is my honor and privilege to have the former heavyweight champion of the world, Oliver McCall, and Jimmy Adams, one of the faces that a lot of people might not know in boxing. He's a promoter, he's a manager, he's also the CEO of Countrybox TV, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But champ, I gotta say, as a boxing fan, it was a great thing, and it was surreal seeing you in the ring again. I mean, you go back to my childhood. I mean, we're not that far apart in age, but I've been a fan all my life. And 59 years old, you made history. You became the oldest former heavyweight champion to win a fight. Tell me a little bit about that night.
Well, I was a little nervous. I felt good and everything, and but I've been out the ring the longest I ever been out the ring, since 2019. So I was kind of curious on how I was going to actually look myself, but I was confident that I was in shape, and my training went pretty good and everything. So I done something different in the dressing room. The trainer that I had, Curtis Harper, he was helping me out, and he had a lot of cold towels on me, keeping me warm. I usually warm up extensively before I actually go out in the ring, but this particular fight, he wanted to cool me down so I wouldn't overexert myself before I go out and ring and to fight the fight. So once I got in the ring, though, my adrenaline really got up from past experiences, of course, being able to compete and knowing that the time has arrived for me to put up a shut up. So once that energy started to flow, man, everything else just went all right. It went all right.
I have to say, we're going to talk a little bit about your background too, but when I say this is one of the more incredible comebacks, not just in boxing, but in life, just because of what you've been through. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But Jimmy Adams, you've had a long history with Oliver as well. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, me and Oliver, we go way back. We went through the Lennox Lewis, both fights together, and we went through the Bruce Seldon when he dethroned Bruce Seldon, when Bruce Seldon back then was the talk, and he money in person, heavyweight, going to be the future champ. And Oliver derailed him, and Francois Damiani and Himi Akawanda. Me and Oliver been together for years. Oliver moved to Virginia, to my hometown, so we spent a lot of time together. We've been through a whole lot together, good and bad and indifferent. And we're back together now. And back then we made history, and we're making history again. So,
That's true. You guys absolutely made history. And Oliver, this was your first fight in 5 years, I believe, since 2019. So really the first question I want to ask is why come back? Why?
Well, I was really wanting to train fighters and possibly manage some fighters and everything. And I went back to Martinsville, Virginia with Jamo Lucas, a good friend of mine. And he come up with a nice big gym, a nice boxing gym. So I started working with Jamo Lucas on trying to work with some fighters there. The thing about that was that was 2020, the year 2020. But I was there from 2020 to just recently, just a couple of months. So I was there for almost 5 years, 4.5 years or so. And I was training some fighters and everything, but things wasn't materializing. I didn't have not one amateur fight, not one really pro fight during that time. I met a guy named Joe Ray, a good friend of my sons and Jamal, and I went and he was bare knuckle fighting. And so I got to the point where I was like, I do want to fight one more fight, possibly win a little title or something. So I actually considered fighting a bare knuckle fighting. I was gonna fight bare knuckle fighting.
Wow.
Yeah. So it got kind of real desperate. So at that point, I knew how serious bare knuckle fighting was, but I knew that I had what it takes to if I hit you, I'm gonna knock you out with
Right.
bare knuckle. And so once I saw how severe and dangerous it was, but competitive, I was like, they said, Oliver, try this. I said, you know what? I'm going to try a bare knuckle fight. And I looked at the champions of the heavyweights of the bare knuckle fight. And I was like, I beat both of these guys. I could beat, I'm pretty sure I could whoop both of these guys. But I did know, I was like, I had to fight like a real street fight because it's more like a street fight than boxing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it's serious. You get hit and nicked a little bit, with them bare knuckles, and you know how to punch. You get knocked out, split up, and all that. So they was wanting me to fight. They was actually going to want me to fight, and they were going to pay me good money. So I was like, okay. And all of a sudden, Jimmy Adams called me, and I was going through some problems with my son, Mikael. He got some mental and emotional problems that he'd been going through. Since he got out of college, he played college football, and his football career ended as far as college, and he's been going through some mental episodes. So that was real rough on me, trying to deal with him, and then seeing what I'm gonna do in the meantime. So Jimmy called me and we talked, and Jimmy said, "You know what? Come down here. I'm doing boxing." And once he told me he had a spot and he was doing boxing, put on boxing shows, I was like, man, fly me down. I said, when can you fly me down? He said, man, you come next week. I called him back. I said, man, I got to get up out of here, because things was getting pretty hectic in the house with my son. And he said, man, I'll get you a flight in 2 days. I was so happy. I hung up the phone. I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Nashville. And I was so excited, man. You just don't know. Once I did get here, and I saw the platform and saw how everything was structured, I felt very relieved and like a new burst of energy, just wanting to participate.
Well, Jimmy, he's your friend. Oliver's your friend. You know everything he's been through, which we haven't talked about yet. When you heard he wanted to fight, have an actual pro fight, did you have any hesitations or reservations, or did you know that he could do it? Because, obviously, there's a lot of criticism. There's critics everywhere, but especially in boxing. What were your thoughts when he said he wanted to fight again?
Well, my thoughts was, it's up to him. And like we talk now, I mean, if he wants to quit today, boxing, that's fine. Because he has a place with me with Countrybox and Jimmy Adams Promotion. So if he wants to start training fighters, I have a slew of fighters and got more coming. I want him to do what he wants to do. As far as being concerned, listen, I was concerned when he fought in his prime. So you always look, I care about Oliver, and of course I don't want him hurt. But as far as worried about him, as far as 59 is, listen, he's looking as good as he did back in his day. I mean, he's been blessed. I mean, he's with all he's been through, he's been blessed because I do think that. I do think there's some good fights out there for him if he wants them, and also I think there's retirement there if he wants it. It's up to him.
And Oliver, I want to talk about your background, but first I want to talk to you both real quick. Obviously, Mike Tyson was in the news for the last 4 or 5 months. He and Jake Paul. Did you watch the fight, Oliver? And if you did, what did you think about it?
Well, yes, I watched the fight. I was definitely rooting for Tyson, wanting him to demolish Jake Paul, of course, because of Nate Robinson and a basketball player. And I thought that Nate Robinson shouldn't have been in the ring with Jake Paul when that happened, and how he got knocked out. I mean, it was a hard knockout. It wasn't just it was a very hard knockout, and that kind of it made me upset. I was a bit upset for a while. and then the tactics that Jake Paul bring about on bringing these fights about and things but to the Tyson fight, I think the fight was pretty much script to a certain extent, but not because it had to be script. Because Tyson did go through a spell at one time when he fought Lennox Lewis. He was talking crazy, talking about eating his kids and doing all these other things concerning Lennox Lewis. But when the actual fight came, it was a whole different story and outcome of the fight. So that right there, that one fight with him and Lennox Lewis kind of showed me as far as, what you will say and what you want to do or what you think you can do, and then reality check in the actual fight, in the actual competition. So I learned that with Tyson as far as, of course, he's an icon. I respect him. I definitely respect what he's done in the boxing, in the boxing scene and everything. And I definitely respect Mike Tyson. And I mean, for real. And he played a part of me being in coming into what I became as becoming champion. Me sparring with him, me being around him and seeing the tenaciousness and the fortitude of mind and things of that with Mike Tyson. And that'll always be there with me with Mike Tyson, no matter what. As we get older, though, we changes in different aspects, some for the good, some for the bad. And in this scene now with Tyson, I think he's taking what he done in the past and cashing in on what's going on in the future now, in the present now, because of the internets and all these people that could get on and you could put different things on the internet now of your best parts, and people will grab hold of that and not know the real you or the whole you now.
Right. Well, exactly. I mean, all the clips you saw of Tyson, there were these short 3-4 second clips of him hitting pads, one edit after another. Look, you can get a lot of people that look great on pads and can't fight. You know that more than anyone. And Jimmy, before I ask your opinion on that fight, really quick, Oliver, you brought up Mike Tyson and your past. And, a lot of people, I happen to know all this. Jimmy knows all this. A lot of people don't know about your past, but you have a long past with Mike Tyson. Back when he was a heavyweight champion of the world in his prime, were you his chief sparring partner?
Yes, I was his chief sparring partner for 7 title defenses. I actually boxed with him for 2.5 years straight. That means wherever he go and box and things of that nature, I was right there with him for 7 title defenses. The last title defense, of course, was with Buster Douglas. I had just lost the decision of Buster Douglas, and I went in the camp with Mike Tyson to train for Buster Douglas, which I didn't go to Japan and everything, but I did spar with him a bit for Buster Douglas in Las Vegas. And they sent me. I ended up leaving the camp then. That was the last.
I read that you dropped Tyson in sparring, and people have to remember this is Mike Tyson in his prime. When he was in his prime, when he was his first run at heavyweight champion, you dropped him in sparring. Man, Jimmy, can you imagine? Like, I would love if everyone's releasing sparring footage. I wish there was a long, unedited clip of you and Tyson sparring. That must have been incredible.
Yeah, they did put a lot of the me sparring with Mike Tyson on YouTube, but they didn't put the best of me and Mike Tyson. They kept some things. But then one day I did see one clip where I really put it on Tyson. It really kind of shocked me. I was like, this is unusual for them to put this, for these people to see this, the actual me boxing with Mike Tyson. I also, Joe Frazier was training me at it for a time, and he went to coach me as me and Mike Tyson sparred. So we had some real good times, man. Yeah, me and Smoke, we went down there, and I was putting it on Tyson too. And Smoke was telling me things to do and this and that and the other. But we had some real good times, and Mike was a beast back then, and he was so illuminated with just, he was unreal though. Now he was unreal, but I learned some stuff from him. I was able to maintain and keep control of things, for my own growth in the boxing world.
Man, I keep wanting to divert when you talk about Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier was in camp. You know, I had a over an hour-long conversation with Jimmy Adams one day. This is a couple months ago. And Jimmy, you were talking about Don King in your past. And I love hearing these stories about like these big figures in the sport. But Jimmy, Tyson Paul, what were your thoughts on it? What were your thoughts on it?
Well, you know, as I was saying, I think what's happening with Jake Paul and Tyson, it belonged more on the wrestling circuit than it did on the boxing circuit. I think what people we get a lot of comments, you know, hating on Jake Paul. Now, we do not hate on Jake Paul. We both of us very much respect the marketing guy. This guy makes
definitely
money.
Do. Yeah, I don't got nothing against Jake Paul.
He makes money no matter what he does, and that's great. But so does Vince McMahon. So does the WWE wrestler, and so I think that's a category that Jake Paul needs to be in. And I think what's happened, Oliver and I, we talk about it because we have been around legends that's no longer here, and we are from the old school that we represent the Larry Holmes and the Richard Giacchettis and Emmanuel Stewart, because Ernie Schaefer's and Ken Norton, Joe Frazier. I mean, it's the people, and they don't do it like they didn't. We weren't brought up to do it the way he's doing. It was not a circus, in which what Jake Paul does is a circus. I mean, you know, I sit back and I think as a boxer, Jake Paul has improved, you know, from the way he was beginning. But right now, he's not an Oliver McCall. I mean, when he stepped up, he fought Tyson Fury. I mean, not Tyson Fury. I'm sorry, Tommy Fury.
Tommy Fury.
Tommy Fury beat him without a problem. I mean, without a problem. And then he steps up and he fights a Mike Tyson. And then Mike Tyson, it's obvious scripted. You know, Mike Tyson went on Instagram himself, and Mike said he had 8 blood transfusions, and he was sick and lost 25 pounds being sick prior to the fight. So I think where all I come from, okay, what about the respect of the boxing commission? What about where? I mean, if he had 8 blood transfusions, there's no way in the world that should have been picked up somewhere.
Right. How did they let the fight go on with that kind of?
Exactly. And that I think people misconstrue me and Oliver, because that's where we come from, the professionalism. I mean, listen, I mean, Oliver has his past, but we always follow the rules. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We didn't have it like that. I mean, everything that Oliver earned over these years of his career, he worked for, and he was forced with guidelines. I mean, we went through a lot, and we kept the integrity of boxing there. And I think right now the integrity of boxing is becoming a joke. I say this here to Jake Paul: if you can't get by Oliver McCall, which he is a legit bona fide professional boxer, he is at 59 probably as tough as anybody you faced for real. So let's fight. Oliver wants to fight him. But Oliver ain't want to fight him because then Jake Paul can go and say, well, it's just because he knows they get a payday with me. It ain't about that with Oliver. I mean, what it is about with Oliver, he disrespected Nate Robinson and disrespected Mike Tyson. And Oliver really takes that personal because they were his. I mean, Nate Robinson, he analyzed him as a basketball player. And Nate should never been in the ring with Jake Paul. So, you know, I don't want people to get it misconstrued where we're coming from. We're not hating on Jake Paul.
Right.
We're hating how he's disrespecting the sport that we love.
Right, exactly.
Jimmy, you sent me a picture that I'll edit in when I put this up, but I guess December 3rd is the next Countrybox, and then 2 weeks later, you said that December 17th, Oliver is more than willing to have Jake Paul as his 40th knockout victim. You guys, this is an official challenge. You would like to fight Jake Paul?
Yes, yeah. I mean, Oliver would like to fight, and I like to see it happen. But December the 3rd is my next Countrybox show. But Oliver's going to fight December 17th. Oliver wants to stay steady, and so 2 weeks from his win, his 39th knockout. You know, right now he's got 60 wins and he's got 39 knockouts, and he wants that 40th knockout. He said he would let him make it 40th knockout, beat Jake Paul, but obviously ain't gonna be that because it's too quick, and even Jake even took the fight. So what Oliver wants to do, but we're going to fight again December the 17th at the Troubadour.
Yeah.
So Oliver, what's the goal in boxing? Is it really just like day by day, fight by fight? Do you have like a long-term goal, or just tell me?
Well, right now, I'm definitely wanting to get into manager and training fighters.
Right.
Number one, training fighters. I'm training. Help training a couple of fighters now that's going to be fighting on some cards coming up. So I'm getting used to that and whatnot. But then I'm training also. Hopefully, I'm just going to see. I'm taking fight by fight. If I lose a fight, it's over with. As far as boxing, that's a no-brainer. And so that's what makes me take it more or less fight by fight, and getting to know the business more and dealing with people more, and just going through the things I've learned over the years myself, and how to translate that over to the fighters where they could do what I want them to do when they need to do it and stuff like that.
Your life, again, I know your past, but a lot of people don't. Your drug and alcohol addictions, mental health issues, and this is going back decades. I've been lucky enough not to have to go through them, but I do have something in common with you, and I'm not making this about me, but I grew up in a household. My mother was an alcoholic, and alcohol and drugs were in the house. I never did it, but my brother became addicted. He was in a rehab at a young age. I read somewhere where, and I'm not trying to sensationalize this, I'm really just trying to get your story out. At 20 years old, you were drinking 24 cans of beer a day?
Well, not 24 cans, but I would drink. I drink a couple of 40 ounces. I drink a couple of 30 ounces a day. I go and matter of fact, back then I would train. And as soon as I get done training and whatnot, I'm going to have me a nice 40 ounce, a couple of 40 ounces, and play basketball for a couple of hours. Because like I said, I did like basketball. So I would walk from the gym from Fuller Park, which was on 45th and Princeton in Chicago, Illinois. I walked from 45th and Princeton to 37th in Indiana, and I would go on 38th and Persian. 38th and Persian Road, right by Wendell Phillips High School, right behind Wendell Phillips High School, across from Male Elementary School, which I went to, and I would play basketball for several hours and drink me a couple of 40s, and I would go back and forth in doing that. I've done that for a couple of years into me turning professional. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you tell me, because I only know what I read. Like I say, I read you drank 24 cans of beer, which isn't exactly true. But the addictions to crack and to everything else, how bad was it for you at certain points in your life?
Yeah, I was at that time I was more controlled. I was under control, thinking that I could handle it, and then as the years went by, it spiraled out of control. Of course, because with crack use and drug use, especially with crack and stuff like that, cocaine, it tends to lead to other things. And then your life with women and things of that nature comes into play. And everything just goes out of whack, and it took me a while to get back to where I need to be, back to be sane. I mean, really, yeah.
I went through articles. I mean, for 2-3 decades about your story, and it's every so often I would read an article saying Oliver McCall has overcome his demons, and then a couple years later, you were arrested. Another article comes out, he's overcome his demons. How hard is it for the people who don't have these addictions? Just talk about how this grip that these addictions have, how tough is that on a person?
Well, with me, I know it was very tough. It came to the point to where I think 2012, my mom got into one of my brothers. That my brothers was addicted to. One of my brothers was addicted to crack and stuff. And she was wanting to get away, and I was like, "What I want, I'm the youngest of the family, and my mom wanted to come live with me, but I was on crack, and that's what really I had to make a choice, and I ended up fighting a fight. I was living in Virginia. I fought a fight for I think $20,000. I went and it was 8 days. It was 8 days too. I fought in another country. I only had 8 days to prepare for the fight. I went and got the $20,000, came back to Martinsville, Virginia, went to church, gave $2,000 to of my tithes of that 20 grand, and went to Mississippi and picked up my mom, and we left Mississippi, came to Chicago, lived in Chicago for a couple of months, and then moved to Racine, Wisconsin. I stayed in Racine, Wisconsin. This is 2012, around about July, August of 2012, and I had hit some crack, and that's what done it. I said, I ain't no way I could take care of my mom and me still on crack. And that was 2012. I think it's the August or July of 2012. That was the last time I done crack cocaine, and I stopped, and I started taking care of my mom. We lived in the house together. My mom was 79 years old, and my mom died a year later in October the 30th of 2013. And the day my mom died, she was laying on the floor dead. I went down to the store, and I want to buy something, and they like, we'll open the door if you buy some alcohol. I never forget them telling me that. We'll let you in. We closed, but we'll let you in if you buy some alcohol. And that's when reality hit me right there. I was like, you know what? They want me to get back doing what I used to. I mean, it just hit me, and I walked away and went back down to where my mom was laying dead, waiting for the paramedics to come. And that was 2013. And I've been clean ever since then.
Wow.
Well, that crack, I mean, and it's been a blessing. Now, certain temptations try to come and stuff like that. And I thank God that he gave me the strength to say no. I came to the point, like I'm at the point now, if you can have I don't care how much crack or cocaine you have in the house, that is not me. And so I'm just thankful I can say that, and it's real. And I thank God for delivering from that garbage.
Man,
Real
Jimmy, the fact that Oliver, first, the fact that you're alive, and I call this an incredible comeback, not just because of the in a boxing sense, but crack and those addictions that usually leads to death, and you're still alive, you're still lucid, you're still fighting, and you're still breathing, and I think it's just it's really incredible.
From 1985 was the first time I used crack on 39th and Persian, on Indiana Avenue. That was the first time I smoked some crack. And from 1985 to 2012.